All right, so we are back for another one, people. We are back once again, the Bounce Podcast, episode 14. We have a very, very special guest in the building. He is an NBA content creator, our very own, my man, Isaiah Bermudez. How you doing, man?
How's it going? How's it going? Everything's great. There's another day.
Thank you. And welcome to the show, by the way. Thank you very much. We really appreciate this, man.
Yes, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a great podcast. Just happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, we're going to start right away. I know you're from New York, right?
Yes, sir.
All
From New
right.
York, born and
Yeah.
raised.
Yeah, so you are an NBA content reader. I mean creator, I should say. I don't know why I said reader. I keep us but I wanted to bring this up, man. Like tell us like about yourself and like how you got started, getting into basketball.
Growing up, I was a very I love sports. I love being very active. I've done almost everything. I played soccer. I played baseball, basketball, football. And so the knowledge was always there for sports. It was just something about just being on the field on every sport, every level, just like having fun, learning the game, and the knowledge of each sport kind of helped me become more disciplined, and it just gave me a passion to want to continue into this sports path. The opportunity to join the NBA came up around 2 years ago. Somebody I met through LinkedIn, he worked at the NBA, and I touched base with him. We spoke, we became friends, and then he gave me an opportunity to join the NBA when there was an opening. He put a word in for me, and I was able to enter into the NBA. Um, Basketball, I remember pretty vividly. It was around 2001. Uh, it was the very first basketball game I ever watched, and of course, Stephon Marbury is playing in an All-Star game, Coney Island's very own, and I just loved the game. And at that point, I continued to follow his career. I continued to follow the game of basketball, and I kind of had to do my own due diligence or research to see other players and see how to like Michael Jordan. I was kind of late to him, and that's kind of where I fell in love. 2001.
So, what is your experience like working as an NBA content creator? Like, what's your days looking like? What specifically do you do for the NBA?
My experience as an NBA content creator, we on a daily basis, I walk into the office. I'm creating a rundown for each game. My rundown is just consistent of anything in the NBA archive for that particular game or particular team you're watching. After the rundown is completed, we are sitting in front of the monitors, watching to see when the players come out to shoot around. Once the players come out and shoot around, there's like a bunch of buttons on the screen. When you have the buttons on the screen, you want to be able to press program in order for the feed to go live to the NBA League Pass. Whoever owns League Pass would be able to see like the shoot arounds. They'll see the full game, and then depending on particular broadcast, you'll see an interview at the end of the game. After the games, I make something called the condensed game, which is basically a 10-minute version of the game we just saw on League Pass. Once we just pick the best plays of the game, put them into a little video, a 10-minute video, and put that onto the YouTube channel. And then my particular days, I have to do G League content, and that's a part of the NBA affiliates. And what consists of that is the best players of the G League will go on Instagram. Basically, you make a photographic, and they give you the players that did well. You make the photographic, and then you post it onto the Instagram page.
I'm just curious to know, like, what kind of experience that you get prior to getting to this position that allow you to learn how to do basic production skills, how to do graphics, like you mentioned, or anything else in that same realm.
It started in college. When I went to SUNY Plattsburgh, I had the opportunity to use a lot of the equipment there and do a lot of self-learning, as well as some classes, not all, but some classes. And so it was a lot of self-learning, seeing certain things that I like from other content creators, and kind of putting my own twist to it, my own spin to it, and learning how to use After Effects, learning how to use Photoshop, Lightroom, Premiere. Those are like some of the basic editing tools I used in order to hone my skill to make something of my own. And when I sorry, when I started doing that, I started doing my own freelance video and photography, and I started working with not like the what's the word I'm looking for? Not the highest profile people, but I worked with like some private chefs that got notarized by the city. I worked with some musicians who are they are known in New York, but they're not really national or someone like someone that's like super known. But they helped me. They gave me like creative control to do what I could do for them, and it kind of helped me build my confidence to do my own work and then showcase to other people so that they could see that what I could do.
So you mentioned you're from
go ahead.
My bad.
No,
go ahead.
Yeah, so well, I was gonna say that you mentioned about your time, be with the NBA as a content creator. Can you talk about how challenging it was working with the NBA during the pandemic, which we had our 1 year anniversary last week, but can you talk about that?
It was I would say extremely difficult. When it first started, nobody knew how they tell you wear a mask, but no one really knew how these diseases like the COVID was being contracted. People with masks were getting these illnesses and these symptoms, and to this day, people are still receiving these symptoms even after wearing a mask. It's still like a scary time. The NBA holds us to the highest standards like any NBA player. You have to test frequently. You can't do this, you can't do that. If you're out with multiple people, you has to be reported so other people are safe. And it's it was definitely a difficult time at one point because we have a bunch of people in the office working, and we're all making sure that no one else is getting ill, no one else is like affecting others by doing something because they want to do. Like if a coworker wanted to go out, they had to quarantine for 2 weeks. They can't just be around anybody. And we just had a producer go to Atlanta, and he had to quarantine for 2 weeks because he was in the All-Star game, and he couldn't come back to the office until he was cleared of protocols because he went to Atlanta, took a flight. He needed to be cleared of all protocols in order to come back into the office. So they take it very serious, and it's a difficult time because, like I said, in the back of our minds, we don't really know, and we're like basically on edge until these tests come back negative.
That's interesting you bring that up though, because I always want to know about people's experience. Obviously, it's getting better now, per se. Are you guys? Is it more likely that you guys are going to bring more people, to office to the office and whatnot, since it's getting better per se, and we have the vaccine?
Um, I think because the NBA just put out their the new set of rules is they did it to the players, of course, but if the players receive vaccinations, they're able to do a list of things like going to different restaurants, be around family, be around different things. The NBA is not forcing the vaccinations. They're not telling you you have to take it, but if you do, these are things that we're willing to open up for you because you took the vaccinations. I don't know yet if they're gonna put this towards the employees as well. Like, hey, we have the vaccinations available. Um, if you do take them, you're able to do this and that, come to the office and whatnot. But if not, we have to still follow these protocols until everyone is vaccinated and make sure everyone is safe. Then nothing is being forcefully like it's not mandatory yet, but I think we're starting to lean towards more people taking the vaccinations and getting to more people coming into that office.
Go ahead, Loreal.
So going back to being from BK in Brooklyn, what is it like being just in New York in general, just being around a very cultured and very mass environment where you get to connect with multiple people, whether within your own job, to the chefs that you've been working with, or just, your common people?
Being from New York is it can be fun sometimes. Sometimes because some people are very on the move and on the rush. They don't a lot of people don't value, I guess, what New York has to offer, like New York people themselves. They kind of just take it for granted. And I know a lot of friends, a lot of people from the outside in, when they come into New York, is like, as they marvel at a lot of different things, Times Square, and they see how some of the scenery is. But then to New Yorkers, we're like, it's just another day. And we don't appreciate what we have here. There's so much different cultures and so much different sites that we kind of just push to the side because of us being here for so long. I can tell you that 100% of New York have not seen 100% of New York, if that makes sense. They kind of just take for granted what we have around here, and they don't take the time to really stand and look around like, this is nice. The New York style, quote unquote, is very quick pace, fast pace. You go to A to B, don't look left or right. Don't, it's like a lot of different unsaid rules that's so weird to me. But I try my best to try to just take a breath and look around and say, hey, this is actually pretty nice.
That's interesting you bring that up. That's for, not to cut you off, Loreal, but that's interesting you bring that up because I know some people who actually are from New York that lives in Detroit, and they bring up about how they're always moving fast every single time when they're trying to do things. But then they realize, like, wait, I'm not in New York right now, so let me slow down. But that's interesting you brought that up.
Yeah, it's a weird, like I said, it's weird. Us New Yorkers are extremely weird because we're kind of raised in that way. Even from just going to the deli, oh, let me get this. It was like a 2-minute trip. Some people will take 10, 15 minutes, walk around, see what they like. Nah, New Yorkers, we go in, we know what we want, we're out. And if they don't have it, we're leaving. And that's just kind of how it is.
Yeah.
So, we got to talk about the Knicks. So first off, how did you start off as being a Knicks fan? Because I find it very interesting to learn that, people respectfully. So like, I'm from Detroit. I grew up, just loving the Pistons. My mom will have clips of all like the Pistons newspaper clips from Detroit Press and all of that. So how did you start to become a Knicks fan?
Oh, it's very simple. Starberry. Stephon Marbury got to the Knicks, and
Starberry. Okay.
That's when I started becoming. That's when I started becoming a real Knicks fan. I was most of my childhood. Well, I think a bulk of my childhood, I was in Coney Island. The biggest name in Coney Island at the time was Steph Marbury. Steph Marbury, Lance Stevenson, Sebastian Telfair. These are the names that were brought up often. Steph Marbury at the time when he was on the Knicks, I saw when I was still like kind of fresh to basketball. I mean, a couple years in, I didn't know much. I wasn't like a savant, but I knew a couple things. And when I watched the Knicks team, I seen the individual talent they had. They had Stephon Marbury, they had Jamal Crawford, they had Zach Randolph, David Lee. They had these talents that it was so weird to not see them mesh well. And that's kind of where I became a fan of the Knicks when Steph Marbury was there. But then after he left, I was still a fan of the team because of the talent they were able to get there. We had Larry Hughes, we had Steve Francis, we had all these names, Baron Davis, Chauncey Billups, these names that are so notable. When you look up the highlight tapes, you're like, wow, this is amazing. But on the Knicks, I don't know what the Knicks do, but I don't know. They were just always my team, man. Being from New York, it was just, that's what it was.
You mentioned all these Knicks players, and you're not going to mention Carmelo Anthony. Where's the? Come on, you ain't gonna mention Carmelo Anthony.
We all know Melo is close to every New Yorker's heart. He put it all on the line, especially that year when we had all the old guys, Jason Kidd, Kurt Thomas. He definitely. And a lot of people don't like to say it, but Chris Copeland was some guy that came off the bench for 3 minutes, scored 14 points for whatever reason. But Melo's always close to the heart, and it sucks that we weren't able to get it done with Melo. He had that shoulder injury. He tried to play through it. He tried to dunk on Roy Hibbert, and that's when everything went downhill from there. I still say it to this day, that dunk when he tried to dunk on Roy Hibbert was bad. but that's when it kind of went all downhill from there. And being a Knicks fan is extremely tough. We don't have many years of success, but the talent that we get from this team, and it's like the fans are gonna ride for you no matter what. No matter if we got Derek Fisher as the head coach, Mike D'Antoni, Mike Woodson, we're always gonna cheer for you because we expect that you want to succeed, and we want you to succeed as well. And that's just kind of how the fans are. We're extremely loyal. To a
So
fault.
What do you believe? Oh,
So, this is something I really want to ask you since you've been a Knicks fan for a long time. What do Knicks fans, what do New Yorkers think about the Brooklyn Nets? They've been around since 2013, and since they've been to Brooklyn, they've been to the playoffs more times than the Knicks have. So, what do Knicks fans think about Brooklyn? The Brooklyn Nets, I should say.
Well, New Yorkers love Brooklyn. You know, they're happy that they was able to succeed in the fashion that they are. They got the talents there. They got D Will to come to Brooklyn. They traded for D Will in Jersey, but then they migrated to Brooklyn, of course. They got KD and Kyrie to come there. They got James Harden to come there. People love Brooklyn. And it just sucks to say because a lot of New Yorkers still look at the Knicks and say, I can't believe they're doing so well, opposed to Brooklyn and saying, I can't believe they're number one in the East, or I can't believe they're scoring these points, or they still look at Brooklyn as this little brother team. Outside of New York, Brooklyn is the name. Brooklyn is a team in New York, but inside of New York, people still look at the Knicks as the best team in New York. And it's extremely weird. It's extremely weird. I don't get it. People see the Knicks play a couple good games. They see that they are hustling and they're working 100% of the game, not just 95 or 80. And they say, yeah, this Knicks team is something different. We love them. This is the grit of this is how New York basketball is played. The grit, the grind. Personally, I know Brooklyn Nets is the best team in New York. I mean, that talent is unmatched. KD, James Harden, Kyrie. It doesn't get better than that in the NBA. But like I said, a lot of New Yorkers still look at the Knicks as, hey, the Knicks are nothing to play with. Even if, we had so many losing seasons, and they still look at the Knicks like, hey, the Knicks are still here. Unless Brooklyn is going to New York to take over Madison Square Garden, the Knicks are still here. So, I mean, I don't know what it is, but these fans are, we're delusional. That's the word we like to use, delusional fans.
Yeah. Go ahead, Loreal.
so just going back to all this talent that the Knicks have been accumulating throughout decades. What do you believe is a good reason as to why things can't just mesh well?
I believe for a long time the owner got the wrong GMs in the Knicks organization. I feel like the GMs had a misunderstanding, and I'm trying to use that word loosely so I don't get fired today. The GMs,
Don't worry,
the GMs,
we got your back.
The GMs, I think they got the wrong personnel in there, and I think for many years the Knicks got a lot of good players that succeeded in previous teams, and they didn't know how to use them well. For instance, I could use a big player I feel like the Knicks didn't use well at all was Amari. They had him as a star player. They brought him in here. He was doing fantastic. And they pulled the gun too early. They traded for Carmelo Anthony, gave away 4 out of the 5 starters. And they kind of just had Amari playing this like secondary role during the season when he was doing fantastic. And it's like certain times the Knicks GMs don't make the right moves. And I feel like now the Knicks are actually a patient team. They're moving with caution. They're not just, hey, we lost 3 in a row. Let's go trade RJ Barrett for, a draft pick for next season. Like, the Knicks in previous seasons would do that. Before coming into the season, articles are coming out that Julius Randle's a great trade piece. RJ Barrett, can he lead the team? A lot of question marks, nothing positive. And as the season progressed, as you're seeing now, we see that they could play well together. And I think the GMs was able to get the right personnel in. Mike Woodson. You got I forgot his first name. I want to say Johnny Bryant, but that might be the wrong name. And Kenny Payne, great assistant coaches that's around Coach Tibbs. All coaches that succeeded on different levels, and on different teams. And hopefully, this is the next few years where they could build something, opposed to just trading for the best available player and hoping it works well.
So how do you believe the Knicks are? Where do you think the Knicks will get far at this season?
If the Knicks make the playoffs, and that's like a dream for me. That's a goal. I can see the smile. I ain't think the Knicks gonna be making them playoffs, but if the Knicks make the playoffs, that is literally the Knicks Cinderella story this year, making the playoffs. Nobody's seen or anticipated them making the playoffs this year, despite Julius Randle averaging 20 a game the last 2-3 seasons.
Yeah.
He played extremely well. He's been playing extremely well in his career after leaving the Lakers. Even I feel like he played well in the Lakers too, but after leaving the Lakers, he's been playing extremely well on the offensive side. This year, he's showing he could play defense at an above average level. I'm not gonna call him elite because that's not how I feel about him, but he plays defense at above average level, I would say. The Cinderella story is the playoffs. And I think they build from here. A team that works hard from 1 to 15. Whoever comes in the game is working hard, and whoever's starting the game is working hard as well. So, Cinderella story is the playoffs.
Hey, man, I gotta really ask you this before we go. Are the New York Knicks a great destination for free agents?
I think I want to say yes. And I want to say yes because of the coaching staff. Julius Randle is playing extremely well. The players are playing well. They're showing that they are accepting the coach's system, which is basically defense, because their offense is horrendous. They are 28th, I think, 29th in offense, which is not good at all. But the defense is extremely well. So if you could get a player who's extremely great at offense, Coach Tibbs might be able to push him to play defense as well. And the Knicks' hope is to get a player like Bradley Beal, a player like Zach LaVine. I don't know if they're going to get those exact players because the organizations are very skeptical of leaving or trading their best player without some kind of insurance. I do think the Knicks attract a free agent. I do think a star player who is disgruntled would want to get traded to the Knicks. Who? Not too sure. People think Cat is the player that will get traded. I don't see that, but hopefully we can see soon because that deadline's coming up.
Well, one more question. Since the deadline is coming up, who do you believe is the guy that the Knicks should pursue in this trade deadline?
I think the Knicks need a point guard. I think the Knicks need a young point guard. And despite him getting a lot of slack and a lot of negative comments going towards him over the years, I think Lonzo Ball is the point guard the Knicks need to go after. 23 years old. He's improved every year since being in the league. And I think under Coach Tibbs, a great coach, he'll be even better.
All right. Well, thank you, Isaiah, for being part of this episode of the Bounce Podcast. We appreciate you. We got to get back. We got to get back with you, man, for another one, around this time, probably during playoff time, something like that. But thank you very much, Isaiah. You guys can reach Isaiah, on Instagram and Twitter at Good Vibes. What's it called again? What's your Instagram and Twitter?
Good Vibes by Zay.
All right. That is Isaiah Thomas. I'm playing with you. Isaiah Thomas. I'm playing. That's my man. Hey, that's our special guest, Isaiah. Thank you for the show, man. Thank you for being a part of the show. All right, we'll be back for another one.